Hi, intuitive viewers. Welcome. I am here with our friend Felice. Hi, Felice.
Hi, Kim. Hi, everyone. So lovely to be back.
It's so nice to have you back. And I actually can't think of anyone better to talk about these subjects than you, because your site is called A Grounded Illumination. So it's perfect for you. So Felice, if you don't know, Felice has been on our channel a couple of times before. She's a Reiki healer, a spiritual coach, helping people to develop and cultivate everyday spiritual living. And she has also had her own experience with an NDE, a near-death experience. And you can see that video as well. And it's fascinating. And we'll talk a little bit about that as a kind of kind of works with the subject we're going to be talking about today. But let me kind of just tell you, over about, I don't know, 5 months ago, maybe, I got a very clear message and a repeated message from my guides saying, 2022, people need to get grounded. People need to get grounded. And it was when I started working on my predictions for 2022. And that came through again and again and again. And it just felt like 2022 was going to be one of those years where it's kind of like whiplash. We're not quite knowing what to believe, what we're hearing. So and then a lot of earthly, weather things, government things. It's all going to be kind of whoa. And so it's really important for us to get grounded and centered, I guess, in 2022. So let's start at the very beginning for me as well. What is grounding and what is centering? Are they the same thing? I kind of think of grounding as more physical and emotional, and centering as more spiritual. But how do you think of those two things?
How I think of those two things is we are in these human bodies, right, on the earth. And if you think about the earth has an electromagnetic field around it, right? We as humans have an electromagnetic field around ourselves. And being grounded, right, as spiritual beings, as human beings, in all of the mental, emotional, spiritual aspects of ourselves, being grounded for me is being on the earth, right? How do we stay grounded on the earth, connected to the earth, feeling our body literally on the earth when things get stressful and we want to go out, we want to dissociate, right? There's trauma, there's collective trauma. We want to flee, or we shut down. It has to do with the polyvagal theory and the vagus nerve, which goes throughout our body. And that has to do with the primal brain response, right? The fight, flight, free, or the safe, rest and digest. And grounding is, if you feel stressed, or if you're feeling like your mind is looping, there's all of this input coming in. And especially now, there's all of this input coming in from us, not knowing what to believe, not knowing what we feel about certain things, having conflicting information coming at us. To be able to feel grounded, literally grounded on the earth, feet on the earth, in our bodies, allows us to feel more embodied, allows us to be more embodied. And this is, you can look up the science. We were talking before, Kim and I, about all the scientific support and evidence about the Earth's magnetic field and our electromagnetic field and what it means to ground. And for me, and then I'll talk about centering, is the whole thing about grounded illumination is about, it involves centering, right? It involves feeling centered and aligned and calm and peaceful inside, so that we could feel grounded on the earth, in gravity, our physical body here and be able to function from a centered place. Is that helpful?
Yeah. So it sounds like what you're saying is being grounded is kind of your body in alignment with the earth. And then centering is your spirit aligned with your body. So it's all kind of works together. Is that what you're saying?
That's what it feels like to me. So
Right.
like, for example, I'm going to stand up. I have on some yoga pants. Oh, you can't see. Like I often stand up and imagine cords, literally cords, like roots from the bottom of my feet going into the earth so that I am in my physical body, because we have our subtle energy fields, our astral bodies, our more etheric layers to us, but to be in this density, right? This dense body on the earth functioning as a human being, having to do all the things it takes to be a human being, right? And move in the world and walk in the world and function, be functional in the world, to feel really grounded and centered and stable and solid so that we can feel sturdy. It's like it sounds, right? Being grounded, feeling sturdy on the, yeah. So it is a physical thing, and it involves, it all works together, right? Our systems, physical, mental, emotional. So it involves mindset, it involves the physicality, but purely from a physical standpoint, our physical structure being grounded on the earth, because this is where we live, right? Like feeling really present and here and in our bodies, right? So that, because if we don't feel grounded, our mind can run away, our emotions can run away, spiritually, we could run away. We could dissociate from our body when things get stressful. It's like, nope, let's come back. Let's feel grounded, feel our feet on the earth.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And after your NDE, where you're literally away from your body, your spirit has departed. How did you get, and you said and also so people know, you recently had another kind of head injury that kind of did the same thing. Not exactly the same, but kind of gave you that feeling again of departing. How do you get grounded after something like that? How do you get back in your body and stay there? Because I would imagine when you have that experience, it's even easier for you to kind of take that road of like, okay, I'm out of here. I'm not going to deal with this. So how do you stay grounded when you've had that kind of experience where, and people maybe can identify with that if they've had trauma, because that's kind of a departing, that kind of thing. A lot of people experience trauma during COVID, emotionally, mentally, physically. So how did you figure that out, and what do you do?
Thank you for asking that, because, I think when you have had spiritual experiences, or you have had a connection with that place inside of you, that eternal place that's always with us, that becomes the happy place, right? Like, and for me, making sense of all of it, number one, recognizing that, yes, I'm a spiritual being. We all are spiritual beings having spiritual experiences. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. And we are also human beings having a human experience. So being able for me to embrace we are human beings having a human experience, it doesn't negate the others, right? It allows for me personally to fully experience all the things that come up. And that's when people talk about spiritual bypassing, right? Is like, oh, or toxic positivity, right? Like, oh, all is well. And it is on some level, right? And all of that. And it's also in a human body important to have boundaries, important to feel safe in our body. So for me personally, spending time in nature really grounds me. Spending time feeling my feet on the earth and on the physical ground,
Mhm.
and turning off all the noise. And studies have shown that even if you don't have access, if you live in a city and you can't just walk out your door into the woods or into a field or into the desert, wherever the natural environment is, that listening to nature sounds and watching nature videos has a very calming effect on the nervous system and on your mind, on your body, on your spirit. So I do a lot of grounding. I do a lot of hugging trees, right? Like trees are have these strong, stable roots that go deep into the earth. So I do a lot of creative visualization and literally hugging trees. I do a lot of embodied practices. So yoga, movement, and paying attention to how trauma, even though we can feel blessed by an experience, it's like the body keeps the score, kind of, that's a book by Bessel van der Kolk, The Body Keeps the Score. And I've worked with a somatic experience coach who has helped me really get grounded in my body. So noticing when discomforting thoughts, or when emotions come up, taking a pause and noticing, where do I feel that in my body? Like really coming back to the body through the breath. And for me, the breath is so beautiful because we are so, and it's interesting because the past year and a half of COVID and during this time, and so much about the breath and so much about what we witnessed happening collectively to George Floyd. I mean, there's so much about the breath, and allowing the breath to bring us back into the body, and also allowing the breath to carry us into these expanded states. I mean, the breath is just remarkable, and there are a few breath practices you can practice to get grounded, to get centered. So it's still a process for me of, being embodied and a mindset practice. And again, embodied practices, feeling yourself, touching yourself, weighted blankets, feeling your feet on the earth, doing grounding practices, imagining this grounding cord from the base of my spine, really. And the root chakra, and there's many chakras. We know of 7 chakras. Right. There's many, right? They're in the bottom of your feet, your hands. Yeah, there's all over your body. For me personally, in addition to having the near-death experience, I fractured my sacrum and my pelvis, which are like the root chakra, basically, right? And the sacral chakra, which is identity and how you be in the world. And so really doing a lot of work to stay here, to stay in the body, and noticing, getting really curious about the tendencies to not want to deal with discomfort, because that's where it's easy to dissociate and want to go to the happy place. And when we can integrate all of it, that is when we can live from integrating all of it, the spiritual and the human. I mean, what a blessing we get to be here in these human bodies, as beautiful as it is, as difficult as it is sometimes. Like, what an opportunity.
Right.
So I hope that's helpful.
No, that is. And so I'm glad you brought up the physical illness thing, because in private readings, I've had the message come through several times from people's guides to when they've had dealt with a long-term illness, or something like lupus, something that's kind of degenerative and long-term, and you're always dealing with it. One message that has come through again and again is you have to get back into the body to listen to the body. It's like it is like they've disassociated because it hurts. It's painful. They don't want to deal with it. So it's kind of like they remove themselves. They don't want to feel it. And they're asking, me, or they're asking their guides, how do I heal myself? And the first thing they always say is you have to get back into your body and feel everything, because that is your body speaking to you. And then listen for the answers or feel the answers, but it's almost like that's ground zero, is kind of coming back into the body and feeling it again. And so I'm so glad you brought up physical illness. And so are there things that you can recommend or that you can think of that might help somebody who has kind of like, I don't want to deal with this anymore, I'm letting go, kind of coming back and being able to have the courage and the not be afraid to feel the pain again and kind of feel where it's coming from and what to do?
Yeah. So what I have found really helpful is Yin Yoga. So Yin Yoga is, and this is coming from a person who, I had a very active yoga practice before my accident, and I was really fit. And so my first Yin Yoga class weekend, I went on a retreat and I did this workshop, and I was going to go out of my mind. I was like, oh my God, like, because you sit and you hold these poses. And I just wanted to jump out of my skin. And holding these poses in Yin Yoga where you push up just against that place where you start to feel sensation. And then the fascia, that webbing that holds all of our ligaments and tendons together, starts to relax, so the muscle can really release. And we hold so many emotions, and we have so much trauma and unprocessed feelings unconsciously and subconsciously. We hold it somewhere. Like if you don't express those things, they go somewhere, right? We whether micro traumas or living with chronic illness or an injury, is to take that time. It's really nourishing and self-care, and allows it to move. It like something shifts rather than not paying attention to it, which it just, because it allows it to reveal itself. And I've been in Yin Yoga classes, and I've guided some classes where there's a moment where a sigh comes or an emotion comes, and really being able to move through the discomfort from that has been very healing. So there's that. There's something I do with my Somatic Experience therapist, who's phenomenal, and a teacher in the school, the association, I guess. I don't know what it's called, but of when you notice, like, to really sit with yourself and breathe and notice, like if you feel an emotion or a sensation, or notice how your body is feeling. And if you can feel, let's say you feel something in your shoulder, right? To really be with it and to notice how it feels. And then notice a place in your body where it feels better. And go back and forth. And when you start to acknowledge something that the body is screaming out to you that wants to be noticed, the simple fact of paying attention to it and noticing it, it's kind of like a child, right? Like it wants to be paid attention to. And then you use the part of your body that feels more neutral to kind of resource that. And what happens is that can start to fade a little bit, that sensation, and you can start to feel more of the neutral sensation. That's called resourcing, kind of filling you. And it doesn't make this go away. It just makes it soften, and it helps you to have compassion for yourself. It helps you to have compassion for your body, and to surrender into what is, because it's the resistance and it's the pushing away and it's the not wanting to deal that it comes back stronger, right? That's with anything. So yeah, so there's that. And there's also any self-expression, whether it's creatively, through art, through moving your body, through singing, through chanting, through whatever it is, helps to move energy from stagnancy and helps to move it through. So those are a few things. I do a lot of affirmations, and I think affirmations can get tricky because with affirmations, you might tell yourself something that is not true. Like if my lower back hurts and I say, my back feels great today. Well, actually it doesn't, right? And my body knows that.
Right,
so,
right.
So it's very different if I say my back is feeling better and better, or, and make it in the present moment, like my back is, or I am.
Right.
The thing that you're wanting, like you're on your way there. Does that make sense?
It does. You're not denying what's
Exactly.
happening. You're more, yeah, you're just working in a different direction.
Exactly. And meditation and creative visualization, you know, visualizing how I want to feel, like visualizing what it feels like to be in a certain state or to have my body in a certain state. There's a lot of actual studies that I was reading this book. Is it The Brain That Changes Itself, maybe? Anyway, there's a lot of studies that show that even the mere fact of visualizing something increases it resolving itself, which is fascinating to me. The power of the mind,
Right.
and the mind-body connection is phenomenal. And that's available for people to look up as well. I also carry crystals around with me, which is something I wanted to share. So there's a lot of grounding crystals, and I throw them in my pocket. And whether you know, it's the belief. If you believe something, and
Right.
if you believe something, and if you can feel something, and if you can, it's like the placebo effect, whether you believe it or not, if as well, not whether you believe it or not, whether you believe that this works. I mean, crystals have their own frequency and vibration, and that's measured, but these are like a lava rock, and there's black tourmaline and hematite, like real grounding stones to walk around with in your pocket. That's more for grounding.
Right.
But as far as the pain and moving through, there's also a mindset thing, right? Like noticing, is something hurting because that's the repeated story in your head, or does it actually hurt? And being able to discern that takes a lot of practice. But that was a very long answer.
No, I love it. I think this is so helpful, and will be so helpful for people to, try different things, because we're all individuals, right? So you're going to find the things that work for you. For me, mindfulness is a big thing. I like to meditate, and in certain settings, I really love it. I find it hard to meditate for long periods of time when I'm just in my daily life. So I use mindfulness a lot more, but that is, and a lot of the things you just talked about, that's what it's kind of making you do, is be mindful. Yoga is a great, example of, like, you have to be present to hold those poses and to get in that, to be aware of the breath and all of those things. You have to kind of be very aware. But one thing that I decided to do because of these messages I was getting was I started a membership for my channel, which is going to be kind of centered around people getting grounded and centered and staying that way through the year. It's just going to go through the year. I don't know if it'll go beyond that, but for 2022, I thought I'll do my bit. This is what I'm going to do. But one of the things that when I was putting the schedule together of what we will do, it was really weird, because I thought one thing that centers me and kind of grounds me is knowledge.
Mhm.
Talking about spiritual things and getting my head around certain ideas and understanding it on a soul level, that what getting stuff, really, really, really understanding and getting more and more information. And so we're doing a book club. But what do you think about that knowledge as kind of as a way to get centered and grounded? What do you think about that? Do you think of it was surprising to me because I'd never thought of that before until I was doing the schedule. And then I thought that's weird, but that is something that really, really helps me. So what do you
It's
think?
funny. I'm involved in a coaching group of spiritual and light workers, and we talked about how knowledge is power, actually,
Right.
because the knowledge is power thing is it allows you, it really helps to feed your body, mind, and spirit, right? Like your mind is primed and it's active and it's juicing. And especially if you're interested in spirituality, you're interested in ways to stay grounded, you're interested in aligning yourself and centering yourself and really embracing the body, mind, spirit connection and connecting in with your soul essence in practical ways, and even knowing what that is, right? And how to access that knowledge allows you to have a experience that could resonate with you or not. Like you could leave it stretches us
Right.
in our minds, right? In our experience. I think that's really important. I mean, the whole knowledge is power. And then what do you do with it? That's for anything, right? Like knowledge is power. And then what do you do with it?
Right.
So I think that's a really important aspect.
Yeah, it
Absolutely.
just surprised me. I thought, that I never thought of that as like a thing
Yeah.
that I use to center myself, but it really is. I think that, Dolores Cannon, that's what she really used. That was just it. She was always just wanting to know more, wanting to know more. And I know that in a lot of near-death experiences, one thing that happens is that you come back with understanding you didn't have before. Even it's
Yeah.
just the understanding that, oh, we don't die, we go somewhere. Even just that understanding, it gives you some kind of something to hold on to. And I think that's what it is about knowledge, that is that centering thing of like, okay, I can hold on to this, or I understand this now. And it gives you that kind of, I don't know, that knowledge that can really connect you to your higher self, and that connects you to spirit, to source, to that.
And you can, what I'm hearing you say, you could really root in there.
Yeah.
Could really root in there and lean in there and allow that to be a foundation of moving in the world. And the curiosity, right?
Right.
Staying curious, whatever it is, like, oh, well, staying curious for knowledge, right? To expand a knowledge base, staying curious about, oh, how does that feel in my body? Staying curious about, well, oh, what is it that resonates for me? Staying curious about trying to do something differently that's not working now. Like, what if I did this differently? Curiosity in all its forms allows for even more knowledge to come in and to root into and to let you know yourself better, right? And how we operate in the world.
Right.
So that's such a key. That's beautiful, Kim. The knowledge help giving you something solid, even though some of these things are energy and etheric, it's just going to solid to root into, because it's a knowing that resonates deep. And when you have a knowing, something that you just feel like maybe, but you can't put into words how you know it, or you intuitively say yes. Although it feels very amorphous, there's something so centering and tangible about that. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. I'm getting chills when you're talking about it, but that's exactly right. That's exactly right. So Felice, the last thing I want to ask you about is, so let's pretend like I I'm just kind of getting into this stuff. I'm not really sure about it, but if I wanted to just do one thing to begin to kind of just feel a little more grounded, something very easy, something I could do even like every morning or something. But where would you tell somebody just to start?
Oh my gosh, I have a whole list of things here. Right. I would tell someone to start. I would tell someone to start with a breath work, like it's pranayama, right? Like this breath, this which carries our life force, right? Prana, our chi, the breath, and there are so many different breath practices that one can do. So do we have time? I can share two specific.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
So one breath practice is, we can do it. So if you sit up tall, and it doesn't matter if you're sitting in a chair, on the floor, however is comfortable with you, and you sit up with your spine straight, and you can have your hands, you can have your thumb and your forefinger together on your lap, facing down. Facing down is more of an internal practice, whereas facing up is more opening to that universal source. And sometimes when we need to feel grounded in ourself, I'll place my hands like down. And I'm simply going to breathe in through the nose with a deep throat breath, like the type of, imagine you're saying, ha, right? So the breath is in your throat. So if you do this, and breathe out through your nose the same way. And so we'll count to 3 on the in-breath and 3 on the out-breath, but we're going to do it as a 6. So on the breathe in, you'll do breathe in, 2, 3, and breathe out, 4, 5, 6. So in, 1, 2, 3, and out the 4, 5, 6. So we can do that on our own for just a few cycles. Counting to yourself. Feeling your spine erect, the base of your tailbone, rooting into the earth. And as you're breathing in, imagining that breath going right to the center of your forehead, inside, like inside the center of your brain. When you breathe out, breathing out, breathing in again, and breathing out. And now allowing yourself to resume your natural rhythm of breath.
That's a great one.
Thank you. Yeah. So what this does is it allows you, so when you're sitting, and it allows you to breathe into the count of 3, like imagine from the base of your spine where you're rooted into the ground, breathing up into the center of your brain, right? Like your third eye is here, and imagine going in a few inches. And then you breathe out and imagine the energy going down into the earth, right? And then you're breathing in, up, and out, down. And if you do that to a count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and maybe it's 5 for you. Maybe it's 1, 2, 3,
Right.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever it is that's
Right.
comfortable for you. It helps to return the nervous system to a state of balance, but it's an awake balance, right? It's
Right.
not like, um, it's a balance. It's not, because when the out breath is longer than the in breath, that stimulates another way of functioning with parasympathetic nervous system. But that in and out
Right.
allows you to come to center, which is when we feel most grounded, is when we're in our center.
Right. And that's a great one for people. And the breath is a great place to start, I think, because you can do it anywhere. You can do it in your car. If you're about to go to work, you can do it. You can really just stop and do it anywhere. And I think that's very practical.
Right. So that's why I'll do it in between things. So if I
Yeah.
go into the store
Mhm.
and especially now in the world,
Right.
so much chaos going on, and just in the collective, and that's a whole nother conversation, how we clear our energy from that so that we are
Right.
not walking attached to that, is to sit in your car even between things and do that. And the counting allows our mind to be occupied rather than drifting off.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
It's us a focus. So
Right. That's great, Felice. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me. And where can people find you if they want to get in touch with you for your services? Yeah.
thank you very much, Kim. I'm on Instagram as FNuss, and Facebook. My Facebook is public, Felice DiMartino.
Mhm.
And my website is groundedillumination.com. So, yeah.
Great. And we'll put everything down in the description so they can just click on and find you. And thank you so much,
Great.
Felice, for taking time. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. It's wonderful to be here with you, Kim.
Thank you. Thanks, intuitive viewers. We'll see you next time. Bye.